What is your promise? Why are you in business? How do you expect to grow?
This is The Hook, a show focused on branding, marketing, and business development.
You brand to inspire, not to sell.
Jason Arcemont, the marketing maverick, gives expertise to business owners, serial entrepreneurs, and anyone interested in building a stronger company brand.
Creating a brand is like telling a story. You've got one shot to say it all.
When your marketing works, you've got them on the hook.
You're listening to The Hook, the first ever show that incorporates marketing and branding, and we like to consider this a business solution to your everyday company needs, way you can increase your presence and your return on investment. My name is Josh Reno. I'm the marketing specialist with Brightbox Brand Marketing, along with Jason Arcemont. He's our marketing maverick, also the CEO of Brightbox. Welcome back. Second week. You felt good about the first week?
Felt good. Yeah, we got a lot of good response. Had people going to the website, sending us emails. It was great. Really enjoyed it.
So give us a brief synopsis. We want to kind of tell about what we do and who you're, some of the companies that you work with and companies that you have, to give everybody a good idea of who that marketing maverick is.
Right. So what we do, we have a series of companies that are all based around business services. So our bread and butter, where I spend the majority of my time, is on Brightbox, our brand marketing firm, where we're designing and doing strategy for marketing plans. We're deploying those plans via the web, social media, SEO, pay-per-click, public relations, brochures, you name it. We also have a trade show exhibit company, a printing company, a HR outsourcing group. We have a corporate training company. And so really, it's the combination of all of these companies in the past 15 years of experience that I have that's led me to wanting to start this show. You know, I've got a real passion for, we talked a little bit last week about the hook, right? And what is that hook? I defined it last week as kind of a moment in time when you know that you have your audience member captivated, right? They're ready to buy. You can see it in their eyes. A switch has been flipped. They're ready to buy. And I call that moment the hook. And I've been passionate about that ever since I first started professionally doing sales. And then as I saw it, carrying over into the marketing world, I just led me to starting my own company and being passionate about helping others develop their hook, find out what is it going to take to get their hook for their consumers. And it's that same passion that led me starting this show. So we're excited to be able to share all of that, our staff and all the experience that we have, being able to invite guests on the show and just help you, the listener, help you build your business, help make your marketing program stronger, get the most out of the dollars being spent. That's what we want to be here for, and that's the information and content we want to bring you guys every week.
And that's really what we're doing, is that we're trying to provide a service to you, a place for you to kind of sound off on things that worked for you, didn't work for you, some questions you might have to overall help you with your business needs. And we can answer those questions each week. You just go to our website, thehookradio.com, send us an email or sign up for the newsletter, and we'd love to share those emails on the air. I know that we have some coming up, and really overall business is what we're trying to help. And I know a great way to do that is to be in the right place.
Oh, absolutely. Taking action, getting into doing it. We have a guest coming up, a couple segments here, Gary Murphy. I mean, this guy is like the epitome of an entrepreneur. He started several companies. Some were good, some were bad. He's very open about that, which I love, just being transparent about your track record. You can have a good idea and great execution to build a good company, but you can sometimes have a good idea and just bad execution, and being able to admit that and learn where you've messed up. But yeah, we want to help promote small businesses. We want to help promote that entrepreneurial spirit. One of the things that I love about entrepreneurs is they have this certain level of resolve, right? That they can just get up every day and go back to doing. It's almost like an endurance athlete. Our listeners probably don't know, but I do a lot of endurance running. Last October, I actually ran across the state of Texas. I did 30 marathons in 30 days. To run from El Paso to Orange. And I think it's, that same resolve in being an endurance runner that's led me to be, a successful business person. I can start companies. I have what it takes to stay in the game, to stay focused, even when things get tough, and there's definitely been those times where I'm just banging my head against the wall, kind of wondering, why am I doing this? And being able to kind of get focused again and say, okay, well, hey, there's a real purpose here. I know what it is I'm trying to provide to the marketplace. I'm not just trying to make money. I am trying to change the lives of the people that we touch. And so kind of having that resolve is something that, you really have to have. And I really admire in Gary and all the entrepreneurs that we hope to bring on to the show.
So, yeah, we got Gary coming up later in the show, and it really starts with the culture And it's always good to have a fun place that you work in, that you like to go to work every single day.
Right. And that's difficult for small business owners, I think. When you start off and you're one man, maybe a 3-4 guy shop, it's hard to kind of have that atmosphere. And like our friends over at theworklodge.com, they're over off of 249 in Louetta, up on the north side of town. But, they've done a phenomenal job of creating an environment, a shared workspace environment, so you can go in, kind of like some of the other kind of big, stuffy shared workplace. But this is something totally different. They have allowed you to have an environment where you can kind of create that culture. They've got it themed out. I think you've been over there, Josh. It's kind of like a Google feel. I'm not an interior designer. I don't know the best way to describe it. But
Question 1, do they have a disco ball?
Bing, bing. Yes, they do.
Question 2, can you play games and just have a good time?
Bing, bing. Yes, you can.
Can you get business done?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, then we're good.
And then the networking, right? The collaborating with other like-minded individuals. They even do monthly events where sometimes it's just like a casino networking event. Sometimes they're bringing in social media strategists. We're actually going in November to do a brand marketing workshop so we could take the folks there through an exercise on how to properly brand themselves. I'm just blown away by what the Work Lodge is doing. I'm proud that they're a supporter of the show. But, aside from that, I'm just really, really impressed with the vision that Mike over there had to build this place and do it different than the competition. Sometimes it's so easy to just slip right into the way things have always been done. And he's just broken that mold. And I love that.
And it's promoting fun, but good business.
Right. Absolutely.
Our good business in a fun way, I guess you would say.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm going to try to get Mike on here in the next couple weeks. And when you hear him explain what he was trying to build, it's almost like he had a totally different vision of like this a company that was like a networking engine, and it turned out to be a shared workspace. So I like that play on it, that sometimes things don't start off looking the way or sounding the way they end up. So his ultimate goal is to bring business owners together, small business owners together, and help cultivate and help bring them up. And I love that. That's what the show's all about, right?
So the website to find them is theworklodge.com.
Yeah. Yep, theworklodge.com, up on the north side at 249 in Louetta. Really, really cool place. You got to check them out. And I think one of the things that's really probably most impressive for me, too, about Mike and a lot of other business owners is they have this ability to they can just turn every situation into a positive, right? Whether they're going through a hard time or they get into a conversation or maybe it's a sales pitch. I think there's a natural tendency for a lot of people to just kind of give up and be like, oh, man, it's just not going to happen. Or, those dreams are reserved for somebody else, And I think those people who take the step and they start taking action kind of have that natural ability that it can be trained. You can learn to have it, but I think a lot of them kind of have this natural ability. I know even early on whenever I was in high school, I don't know if I ever told my mom about this, but I got in trouble in class. I was talking too much with somebody, sends me to the principal's office. Well, principal was busy, so they were like, hey, go talk to the vice principal. Well, this was kind of a different vice principal. Well, I don't know. A lot of schools probably have a vice principal just like this. It's the football coach, right, that needs to do a little more. So
Right.
he drives the school bus, but he's also the vice principal, So he's kind of the hard-nosed vice principal that you didn't want to go see. So I go sit in his office, and immediately I'm kind of looking around. I'm like, man, how am I going to get myself out of this one? But I know I can turn this thing around if I could just get a couple minutes to talk with him. And I realized in the back behind his chair, he's got a little radio playing. He's got some Dave Matthews Crash playing. Yeah, and I'm like, this is kind of interesting. This is back, 95 or something? I guess the song had just come out. And so I'm like, well, man, I know my dad was a real salesman. He taught me that, you got to connect with people. So, I don't see anything else around here I can connect. So I'll play up this song. So, as soon as he sits down, I'm like, you got Dave Matthews playing. He's like, oh, do you listen to Dave Matthews? I'm like, oh, yeah, of course, kind of. I'm a high school kid, junior in high school. I wasn't a huge Dave Matthews fan at the moment, but so he starts going into all of this stuff about, oh man, the lyrics to this song, and when he's talking about hike up your skirt a little more, and I'm like a kid, I don't even know what he's talking about, but I'm just like, oh, I know, it's so profound, blah blah blah. We have this 5-minute long conversation about Dave Matthews and his music, his artistry, and then he tells me, hey, get out of here, just quit running your mouth in class. And I'm like, yes, sir, I'm on it.
Done.
So, just kind of having that ability to turn a bad situation around, ever since then, I'd see him in the hallway. We're able to, kind of give that music lover's look, like, hey, we got each other's back. So
that's why they call you the marketing maverick.
Yeah, I guess so.
Because you can really come up with that on the fly.
Yeah, I don't know if I told Mom that one, so I'm sure she's listening. Sorry, Mom.
His name is Jason Arcemont. My name is Josh Reno. You can find us on thehookradio.com. That's the website to go to. Okay, we have another minute or so. So tell us what's coming up in this show. What's happening?
Yeah, so we've got a brand review. We're going to do another one of those. Last week we did Gringos. So this week we've got a new company that most people here in Houston are going to be familiar with. We'll be doing a full brand review on those guys, as well as we got some business tips. We're going to answer some emails. I got a couple of emails. I got several last week from the Saturday show, so we're going to answer some of those emails today, as well as give some business tips on the new economy. If you're not familiar with what the new economy is, you're going to want to stay tuned and check this out.
And we already said that Gary Murphy is going to join us in the last segment of the hour. So
that's right.
Lots of stuff going on. Thehookradio.com is where you can find the podcast from last week. And again, sign up for the newsletter or just find out more information about the show. Send us an email to thehookradio.com.
You know I like my chicken fried and cold beer on a Friday night, a pair of jeans that fit just right, and the radio.
You're listening to The Hook Radio, online, thehookradio.com. My name is Josh Reno, along with the marketing maverick, Jason Arcemont. You can reach us on that website. Always, if you have any questions for us, you want to tell us about some big wins that you've had in business, in marketing, or if you have questions about anything that we talk about, or, hey, maybe it has nothing related to the show. Ask us about our wives. Okay, don't do that. Maybe not that. But you can ask us about anything business related. We'd love to talk to you about that. And we have a lot of great things coming up. We have the brand review that we'll do in just a second, and we have a great guest that's going to be coming on next hour, or later on this hour, rather, Gary Murphy. So our brand review for today is with
TopGolf.
One of my favorite places ever.
It's such an amazing place. I'm sure most of our listeners have probably been, or at least driven by, and been like, "What in the world is this structure that they've built?" They've got one out in Katy and up in Spring now here in Houston. Mm-hmm. These guys have just gangbusters. They've actually opened up several locations across the nation. So whoever started this either had a big vision, or once they built the first one, they realized this is something they needed to reproduce again and again. And
we actually have some very recent experience with it, as we had just been out there. So we kind of mentioned that.
Fuzzy experience.
Yeah, a little bit. But we also talked to someone just on Friday that had been out to TopGolf, had done a bachelor party like last weekend. Right. And so they had nothing but good things to say about it. And they weren't even golfers. So first, lead us into this brand analysis with, I know that you always look at the website first before you go anywhere else.
Yeah, and what's interesting about this group, and when you go to their website, you don't get some of this background story, but I thought it was kind of fascinating. So it was actually started by two brothers. We're at a old school, we'll call it old school now, driving range. They're hitting a couple balls, right, a bucket of balls apiece or something. And they just kind of look over at each other and like, man, there's got to be a funner way to do this. And they kind of came up with the idea that they would have a multi-leveled kind of building where the face is completely ripped off of it, so you can stand on the edge of the building on the first, second, third, fourth floor and hit balls off with a golf club and have drinks and eat food.
That seems really disastrous.
Well, it seems like something we would all come up with that idea, right? These guys executed on it, and man, has it taken off. So it's a really cool story. And kind of fun fact, they're actually like number one, maybe number two alcohol sales in the state of Houston now. City of Houston. Yeah, it's a state. It's a state. We're going to give it its own identity. So unbelievable. These guys are really blowing up. But yeah, let's get started with the website. So this is a really interesting website. Obviously, they spent a lot of time. They hired somebody to do this particular site. I love the use of videos. As soon as you get to the website, they've got a little watch the video. It's a very professional, looks like it's very well done, high-end video. Kind of give you really showing the experience. Nowhere on the site do they even really talk about golfing, because, as you mentioned, you don't really have to be a golfer. You don't have to know what you're doing. All you have to do is just get up there and be open-minded to have a good time. You are going to use a golf club and a golf ball, but you don't have to. It's probably the furthest thing from golf while still playing golf, I think.
Well, the thing is that even if you hit the ball like 3 foot in front of you, it's going to roll in the targets.
Yeah, you could get a point for that. That's a strategy.
Yeah.
So back to the site. So they've got a great video. I also like it. They have this 360 touring option. So you can select the city or the location. So it actually goes into the building. It's like a virtual. It's like the map feature. You know, if you can go down and do Google Earth. Well, it's the same thing within their building. So they had to have some kind of 360-degree video camera that shot this. But the only thing that's a little strange about the site is that there's a couple links. When you click on that link, it takes you up into a new window, into like a different portal, and some of the interface is a little bit different. So I wasn't too big on that.
That's Jason Arcemont, the Marketing Maverick. I'm Josh Reno. You're listening to The Hook at thehookradio.com.
The other thing that I thought was interesting is, so this particular, I've never said this about a company before, but I'm going to say it for them. I think their logo could be a little bit bigger. And any of our graphic design friends that are listening right now know how we never say that. I mean, normally it's a client, can my logo be bigger, right? There's websites dedicated to this topic. But these guys, I think their logo it's a fine shape. It's a good icon, but it's really, really small up on the top left-hand side. And the only reason why I'm thinking that maybe they're doing that is they're just trying to not play too much on golf, right? Because their logo is kind of a flag, golf flag. But, you know, there's going to be other players that come into this market, no doubt. People are going to see how much money these guys are making, and they're going to come into the market. I would really suggest making sure that maybe increase the size of that logo, that icon, just a little bit. But yeah, so the website is just very well done. It's an experience in and of itself. There's so many different areas within the website you can go and check out. Great job.
Next thing we come up to is curbside appeal.
Man, again, like, it's hard to have a complaint here. I mean, they spent so much money, so much time into building these buildings out. They had to have hired an architect because it's just phenomenally done. You know, they could have just done like a shell warehouse with the, you know, the kind of the ugly metal frames and, metal shingles on it or something. But they really went all out. It's just beautiful architecture. The lines look great. There's LED lighting and stuff at night. The building just looks amazing.
The lights that you can see from I don't know, if like a few miles away, especially I noticed that like going to the one that's out towards Katy off of Highway 6 is that, I mean, you can see this place for a ways and you know, what is that?
Yeah, because the playing field or the driving range, the outdoor portion where you actually hit the balls into, you know, it's huge. It's like the size of a football field. I guess it's got to be more than that. It's a couple hundred yards. And they've got these huge lights.
It's their bat signal.
Lights. Yeah, it's just humming down on the playing field. It's quite a sight. I'm sure if you're in and around Houston, you've seen this, but you really got to check them out too.
The next thing is to walk up to the entry.
The entry is again, I mean, it's hard to complain about the quality and the attention to detail. That part is great. The one thing, I don't know for you, your first time going, I felt a little unsure of where I was supposed to go. Like, I think maybe the layout was organized and was planned and designed for kind of repeat customers, so you know which counter to go to. The location I've been to a couple of times, they didn't have a designated hostess, so you kind of walk in. I mean, it's beautiful. You can see right out into the playing field. You got the bar. There's a couple counters, and I just wasn't exactly sure where to go. I felt a little overwhelmed. I
think that may be for you that maybe you hit it at a time where they were directing someone, because every time I've walked up there, it's, hey, have you been here before? Do you have your card?
Okay. Yeah.
Can we get you a bay? You know, and
so it's just my luck, is what you're saying.
Pretty much, because every time I've gone through there, I've had nothing but great services whenever I get up there, because it is overwhelming when you first get there. Oh, I need a card?
Yeah.
Okay, what do I need this card for? And where do I use this? No, we'll explain everything. We'll walk you through it. And the person that's getting you the bay helps you out. That's it's the one I go to, that you just go to the left for that, and then the ones that are going to get you the card, that's on the right side, and then they kind of usher you through there and then bring you to where you need to go. That's been my experience from the start.
Well, good. I'm glad that that's not a common theme, and I'm sure that's just my luck. But that aside, though, you've been in there. I kind of felt almost like I was an athlete when I walked in. I mean, like, the place was so nice.
Calm down.
Hey, well, you know, and the first time I went, my buddy's like, bring the golf clubs that I don't know how to use. So I brought my golf clubs, you know, and you kind of walk up the stairs and you walk in, and I mean, the place just looks really, really nice, and it's clean. It's got energy to it. There's always people in there kind of buzzing, and they've got drinks and food and everything. So that
goes into the experience, the overall experience that you have whenever you go to TopGolf.
And something that we say about every brand, right? Even if you're selling, nuts and bolts, there needs to be an experience in that exchange. And if you're just taking orders and giving a product or a service, you're really missing out on the whole point of branding. And hands down, I mean, they're kind of in, got a good way to build an experience because it's an actual event. But there's other companies that don't do as good of a job that are in a similar type of service. And yeah, absolutely, it's unbelievable experience from the moment that you walk in the door, experiencing it on the website, scheduling a bay. They sit you down, the couch, the seating, everything is just very well done. It's comfortable. You don't feel intimidated once you get set up in your bay. You kind of have your own little cubicle or pod, so to speak, that you're in, hitting balls and swinging. And, man, for you guys that haven't been, you got to go check this place out because I know a lot of people are like, well, I don't like golf. I don't play golf.
I don't think they talk like that, though.
No, they do. They sound just like that. I'm not a big golf guy. Well, I've tried to be a golf guy, but I'm not any good at it. But I can still have fun when I go to TopGolf.
It is a fun time. I mean, it really is. The overall experience for me is that you're going there. It's a good little competition that you have with your friends. Even if you don't golf that well, it's easy to play some of the games because there are, I think, 12 different games you can play. And it's not about hitting it to the back fence. It's not about hitting it 300 yards. It's about hitting the targets or putting it in different spots, and it's fun.
There's a bunch of different games.
Yeah, the competitions, the different competitions you can have with each other.
Yeah, so if you and your friends like hitting the long ball, well, you can pick that game.
You can do that, yeah.
And just see who can hit it the farthest or however many times.
One of the games that we played last week, I don't know if you remember this, is that we had to hit from the first 5 balls you hit in the red, and then you went the yellow, which was these are right in front of you.
Yeah.
And it's a skill competition, but it's also easy to get lucky.
Yeah. Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. So
anytime you can easily get lucky, that's my kind of game.
We're talking about TopGolf. It's our brand analysis. It's Jason Arcemont, the marketing maverick. My name is Josh Rito. And so we get into the recap of everything from our TopGolf experience just last week.
Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, again, these guys, similar to Gringos, they opened up and very quickly started looking like a franchise. They started looking like an organization. They knew they wanted to have a powerful brand. They knew they wanted to bring an experience to the market. I just see them really doing everything right, from web to video to the building. The locations are even really good. They're right off of the freeway. I mean, who knows how long it took them just to secure the land, because it's a big plot of land for each of these. So definitely hats off. I'd love to maybe have one of the founders on the show at some point in the future and talk a little bit more about Inception. But I think it's also important to note here, guys, we're talking about some brands that started with a lot of money. And I use them as an example because they've done a good job of putting their brand out there. But man, there's so many things, so many of the small things that they're doing that I want you business owners and those of you thinking about starting your own company to go visit these brands that we're talking about, because you may not have the funds or the money that they have, but there's a lot of things that you can do to incorporate into your own business idea and be just as successful with. It's not always about having the most money, right? We see that all the time at Brightbox, at our marketing firm. We can help companies that have, a $10,000 budget. We can help companies that have a $500,000 budget. So it's just doing it right. And if anything you do is worth doing well, so make sure and go watch the details of other brands that you see doing it well. And that's what I want to try to do here, is not just brag on those that spend a lot of money. We'll have a lot of different types of brand reviews out here. These first two have obviously invested heavily up front, but I would bet that these two individuals or these two groups, had they not had the money up front, they would still have a stellar brand and have a very, very positive reputation out there with how they present their brand and their logo and the experience itself.
You can find us at our website, thehookradio.com, for any questions you may have. On the way next, we're going to talk about our business tip of the day, which is the new economy. I'll find out more about that along with you, because I'm not really into this one. I'm not sure yet. So you're going to give me a key to what we're talking about in just a few minutes. Stick around. The Hook. More coming up next.
Sailors sail, cowboys ride.
I'm Josh Reno, along with Jason Arcemont, the marketing maverick. You're listening to The Hook. always on our website, thehookradio.com is where you can find us, social media. Also, our podcast from last week. You'll find this podcast on in just a couple of days, too. You can check that out if you missed any part of this. Okay, so we were talking about our business tip of the day, and I know that it's sponsored by Shadowbox, which Shadowbox Talent, one of my favorite recruiting firms because, well, you own it. Well, also, they got me the job that I have.
That's right. They brought you in. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize that until last week when we were talking about them. They play in pretty well with our topic here because we're going to be talking about the new economy and how to adjust your business strategy, or at least be aware of what this new economy means. And Shadowbox has done a phenomenal job at adjusting to that. They are a full-service HR outsourcing group, so that means they do staffing, recruiting, payroll processing, all the benefits. They can help with, what are the effects of the Obamacare. They can help with bringing in new talent. They can help with putting together HR programs and manuals and all that kind of good stuff. Phenomenal people. Gary and his wife, Callie Valentine, out here in Houston, Texas. Shadowboxtalent.com.
Got to say hi to Brooke, too.
Brooke
Burton.
That's right. What's going on, Brooke? Well, I wanted to let's talk a little bit about this new economy. So the new economy is basically being aware of the digital age. And I know that sounds very simple, but there's so many things. And there's actually a full write-up on this new economy that I did for our corporate training company. If you go to thehookradio.com, I'll try to put it on the blog there on that site so that you guys can see the full thing, because we're not going to be able to get through all of it today. But, in order to thrive in the next decade, you're really going to have to adjust to this new plan. It's data-driven. There's a power of multimedia, video, animation, digital interaction, learning to manage and sell with the Gen Y, Gen Z employees and, this generation that's coming up. Just looking at just that one point, the Gen Y, Gen Z alone, they respond differently to incentive programs. They respond differently to training. The Ys had a reputation of entitlement, kind of clinging to the nest still and feeling entitled. They'd start an organization, want to be the VP, the second month that they were there. The interesting thing, so the Zs that are coming up, these are the mid-90s babies. These guys are bold. They're different. They have a sense of entitlement still, which probably most of us do. But they still have that sense of entitlement, but they are highly intelligent when it comes to being kind of process thinkers. These guys are able to think outside of the box and bring real value to your organization, which means that in order to sell to them, your pitch is going to have to be more process. It's going to have to be more detailed. It's going to have to be more, specific about what it is you're going to do and how you're going to get it done. You got to remember, this group is growing up in a day and age where media, knowledge, education is right at their fingertips. We didn't have cell phones growing up. I was lucky I think I had a pager in high school or something, but, we didn't have this type of full access to media and to knowledge and power. And so there's nothing that they don't know, right? Because every time they don't know something, they Google it and they get the answer.
Doesn't it feel like the Zers, they're more entrepreneur than probably the Ys? It just seems like with everything going in the tech world that they can start something up and really run with it. Absolutely.
And that's one of the points, too, for business owners, being aware that, we talk on the show a lot about, hey, if you want to be a business owner, you want to start your own company, get your stuff together, get it organized, and go do it. But there's also this group of people that don't necessarily want to be self-employed, but they want to be empowered. And so business owners are going to have to recognize, how do I empower my staff? How do I give them opportunities to fill that entrepreneurial spirit, right? So that they can bring ideas. Do you have a think tank within your group or within your organization where this younger generation can bring you ideas on how to make money? And are you willing to profit share in those ideas? Right? When things start working and they start paying off, are you willing to break off other companies or break off other segments of your company and help, kind of foster this new generation coming up? I think so many business owners that I talk to are like, oh, well, it's my way or the highway. Well, I'm telling you, these Ys and Zs will take the highway because they know that starting a business nowadays is easier than ever before. I mean, with the internet, being able to put up a website, within minutes nowadays, you can put a website. Doesn't mean it's going to be good, but you can have a website and have a company up within minutes. And just like that, they're in business, right? And they're real process thinkers. They know the digital media better than we do. And so we have to be aware of that. And so what is it going to take to help bring them up into that organization and help facilitate them? The full write-up on this, again, is at thehookradio.com, so go check that out. A couple things that are going to fall into this new economy as well is competition's getting stiffer than ever before. Every day, competition, new people are coming into business. They're more brand savvy, they're digital minded, they're taking new angles and approaches to business, and markets are becoming more and more niche, right? They're segmenting out what, kind of like Brightbox. We do brand marketing, but before we just did brand marketing, we were doing trade show booths, we were doing printing, we were doing everything, right? And the new economy, things are getting more and more niche. People's attention span is becoming much more narrow in focus. And so if you're going to approach somebody with a business, you're going to have to be looking at your business and slicing down what it is that you might do and being more specific about what it is you're going to specialize in.
And I think the problem, too, is that people look at what their competition did, not knowing if it worked or not, but it's a reaction.
Yeah.
They just work too reactionary, and they have no data as, okay, well, you did a direct mailer. Did it work? Well, you don't know. You didn't get any of the results. You don't know what the return
tracking number. Yeah. Did you do any of these things on there?
No, you don't know what they did, and so you're going to do it too. Well, you don't know what the marketing was behind that. Yeah, was there that call number, that special call number on it? Does direct marketing even work for that business? So you have to kind of figure that out and have help with it.
Absolutely. The other point is that talent nowadays and over the next 10 years is going to have more and more options. And what I mean by that is that, we've lost a lot of manufacturing, but what we're seeing an increase in is engineering, technical support, digital media, and those are the companies that we're seeing booming right within our economy. The Googles, the Apples, these large tech companies. So those of us who don't necessarily have a tech company, our talent has a lot more options. They're seeing Google work environments. They're seeing places like the Work Lodge, right? Where, hey, I want to have an environment where I feel like I can be creative and I can collaborate. So if you've got the drab old strip center office, with dirt on the walls, and I've been to some of these companies where it's just like, it feels like a prison cell. It's just not going to work for this next generation. And you're going to be fighting for the attention of that talent when it comes to interview and to compensate them. Also keep in mind that Gen Y generation is getting older. And so now they're doing some of the hiring because they have that entitlement kind of mentality. They tend to pay a little bit more. So those of us who aren't of that industry or aren't of that mindset anyways are going to have a hard time. And so these are some things that you're going to need to pay attention to. Third point here is that to be successful in marketing nowadays, you're going to have to break through the noise. We have so much noise going on in our day-to-day lives. Your story has to be strong, has to be specific and to the point. With all the media being thrown at us, with social media, we've got videos, we've got TVs, we've got DVRs, we've got mobile phones. Everywhere you go, there's devices and there's ways that media is being presented to you.
Attention. Yeah. Everything that you have is getting your attention all the time.
Absolutely.
And that's one. I feel like we're in the ADD world. I'm the most ADD person ever. Okay,
Right.
So if I'm not doing something while I'm doing something, then I'm doing nothing.
Right.
And it drives me crazy. So if I'm walking and looking at my phone, I'm that guy that you're going to see in the video run into a pole because I always have to be doing something unless I'm driving.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, and I think for a lot of business owners and marketing executives specifically, we're not thinking about how are we going to break through all of that noise. We're trying to implement kind of historically strong marketing programs that didn't have to compete with that type of noise. So there's a couple other points on there. The staff is going to need more training. Talking about ways to break through those noise, ways to break through all of those obstacles are on the website, the full review at thehookradio.com. Up next, we're going to have our guest in here in the studio, Gary Murphy with Little Soya. I'm excited to bring him in. It's going to be a great interview for sure.
That's Jason Arcemont, the marketing maverick, along with me, Josh Reno, thehookradio.com. It's The Hook. Last segment coming up next.
She keeps it all together. I always come unwound. She's cool, calm, and
Name of the show is The Hook. You can find us online, thehookradio.com. I'm Josh Reno, along with the marketing maverick. That's Jason Arcemont right there. And I get kind of excited when we have guests in studio. I'm sorry. You know, I fumble over words and because I meet people that you call friends and I'm like, seriously? Seriously? You know this person? So I'm going to let you introduce our guest for today.
Absolutely. Our guest today, I was telling you guys a little bit about him before, Gary Murphy, founder and CEO of Little Soya. Gary's going to talk with us about his Little Soya journey. I'll tell you, just before we get to talk with Gary, Gary is a phenomenal entrepreneur. I've been a part, not as a business person, but been around him as he started several companies. He's open with the fact that some of them have worked and some of them haven't. And I just love the lessons and the value that he brings to any conversation that we're having about business. And today we're going to learn a little bit about his journey with Little Soya. So Gary, just thank you so much for coming on, man. I appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here. Always an honor. We were just talking a moment ago. It's been several years, but
it has.
Yeah, it's awesome. Let's do it.
Always good to catch up. Yeah, well, let's jump right into it. So tell us a little bit about Little Soya. Where is it? Where do we find it? What is this thing?
So Little Soya is, first off, it's a gluten-free, low-sodium, non-GMO soy sauce. We got our start several years back, about 4 or 5 years ago, primarily selling to grocery stores, whereas today we're in about 1,000 restaurants across the U.S., about 20 markets. But the product's made in China, and I know it's sometimes folks are like, what, China? But China's been making soy sauce for 3,500 years.
Right.
They know what they're doing.
Yeah, kind of mastered that one.
Yeah, and so our product's made over there, but primarily in the U.S. We also have a distributor in Panama, and then we do we do a little bit with Canada, occasionally Europe, that sort of thing.
Yeah. For those of you, the listeners that are listening that may not recognize the name, you've probably recognized their individual packaging. It's the miniature fish soy sauce with little twist lids.
Right.
If you guys go to thehookradio.com, I'm going to put some pictures up and a little bit about Gary so you can kind of see it. But for me, this is what kind of started it. Is that the product you started with?
Yeah. Well, I've been going back and forth to China for about 13 years.
Wow.
Started going over there in about 2002. At the time, I was CEO of a company called Mach 5. Didn't have really much plans as far as to do business with China. It was a trade mission for a CEO group that I was a part of. Anyway, went over there for that first trip, and that trip kind of changed my life. I mean, it just gave me a different outlook about business, culture, people. I mean, you name it. So I just told myself at that time, it's just kind of a gut feeling, really, that years later I would do business with China. So fast forward about 6 years, I moved to Las Vegas for a couple of years. While I was there, I started a China sourcing company, sourcing in products from China, glass, granite, furniture.
For the casinos and stuff?
For the hotel casino market in Vegas, which at the time, 2007, 2008, right before the market really crashed, they were building these multi-billion-dollar properties. And even though you think it's all Italian-made and all this, yes, it is. But, I mean, it'll be glass from China, marble from China, chairs, whatever. Anyway, we were hired by a senior vice president for Harrah's Casinos that owns Caesar's Palace to find the best soy sauce in the world in a single-use packet for Caesar's Palace.
Wow, okay.
And so we researched all over China, Japan, Korea, Taiwan, and found one old region of China that had already been making a premium soy sauce. Caesar's Palace placed that first order, 2008, for 50,000 single-use packets.
Okay.
So you think of a single-use package like a little thing that you get in your Chinese to-go.
Yeah, you spill all over yourself.
Exactly. You tear it open one time, it spills everywhere. And so Caesar's Palace was about to spend like $25 million on a buffet. They wanted a higher quality soy sauce and one that didn't spill. So we found a factory that was already making a single-use packet in a little fish shape with a little screw-on cap, but we just took their idea and made it better. So we reinforced the packaging, made it FDA approved, and made sure the plastic was BPA free and all these things that Americans want. And that went on for a couple of years with Caesar's Palace placing orders. And then when I moved back to Houston, where I was born and raised, and all my business contacts are in Houston, I really just bought a couple pallets of the product for myself to kind of test market it in Houston. Sold out of those like probably within a month or two. Picked up 4 or 5 restaurants pretty quick that were buying just the single-use packets. And then I decided, okay, if I'm going to turn this into a real company, I need to go national, I need to go big, and I need to bring on some heavy hitter advisors that are already in the food business. And I need to bring on investment money, which I'd never done before. And even though you hear today, startup business, you know, with these massive, crazy valuations, at least 5 years ago when I was thinking about this, yes, there was startup companies, but it was just on the beginning of really what a startup kind of was.
No, I can remember. And you know what I find interesting, so about the story, and listeners, I want you guys to notice it. So a lot of times we talk about what's your passion, find your idea. Well, Gary is an exceptional opportunist, right? So this deal kind of came to him.
I guess that sounds good. I don't know.
No, it is. It's really good, especially when you're starting companies. You know, this opportunity came to him. He was able to source it, and then he was able to say, hey, look, I'm already in this space. I'm seeing what's going on. How can I turn this into a brand of my own to develop and market? So, I love that that part of the story there. I didn't want to glaze over it.
That's Jason Arcemont, the marketing maverick, along with our guest, Gary Murphy, founder and CEO of Little Soya. You had it in the fish shape before, you said, and you decided to reinforce it. But did you ever think, we have samples here?
Yeah, of course.
We're drinking Soya in studio. We're drinking this stuff.
On. I've got some for you, too.
So, okay. Hey, I like that. Fantastic. Whenever you have this concept and you're getting ready to go with it, at what point do you know, wow, we've made it. We really did what we set out to do, and have that aha, this is really happening.
Probably the aha was when I got a phone call coming in. I didn't recognize the phone number. It was a local Houston prefix, and I thought, I better go ahead and grab this. You never know if it's going to be a client or God knows what. And it was a senior research scientist from NASA that was calling that said that we've seen your product and we'd like to use it on the International Space Station. So probably at that point,
you're like,
I was like,
I might be onto something.
Maybe I'm onto something. So today, Little Soya is the standard soy sauce used on the International Space Station and has been for the last couple of years. So actually, every rocket that takes off and goes for a reload, which is about every 4 or 5 months, you hear about just the ones from the U.S., but they take off from all over the world to restock and resupply the space station with food and water and these kind of things. So on every single one that takes off, a little Soya is on every one.
Yeah, that's awesome. Take that competition.
Yeah, so that was kind of a good feeling.
NASA approved.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things
exactly.
One of the things I like is just kind of the brand. And you guys go to the website, thehookradio.com, check it out. We had an email come in last week after the show from Armando asking how to get started in developing a brand. You've been very consistent with yours. I'm curious, was that intentional? How did your brand kind of start graphically?
Well, something that Josh kind of mentioned there. When we kind of then going back to what Jason's saying, but when we started this, or when I decided to start the company, even though I knew that Caesar's Palace was used in it, and yes, I'd sold a few pallets, at that point, I had almost 20 years of entrepreneurial experience, of probably starting about 7 other companies, of which, 5 total failures. One was an absolute success and one was kind of limping along. But I already had that experience in me. And one of the things that I learned in those prior years is that most entrepreneurs or anyone starting a business, one of the biggest things they fail at in the beginning, because I've done it, now I don't do it as much because I've got so many years on it, but is spending the right amount of research before you start the company. With Little Soya, before I just started the company, I probably put in 250, maybe 300 hours of pure research.
Wow.
Pure research. Wow. Talking to people, making phone calls, visiting grocery stores, visiting restaurants, talking to distributors, talking to consumers, pages and pages of notes to decide if I should even open it.
Yeah, and even put your money or the rest of your time and resource. Because it's almost like one of those things where you look at the packaging and you're like, it's a no-brainer, right? But I know that's just kind of one part of the company. Now you guys have it available.
Well, right. So after we decided, after I put in, close to 300 hours of research, then I decided, that I would go out and raise money. So I put a business plan together, term sheet, projections, brought on a small advisory board at the time. So I raised $530,000 in 2011.
Wow.
And then we started out just with a single packet in grocery stores.
Okay.
So the little single packet that you'll see online Came in a package of 12. And during my research, I learned that on these, umpteen thousands of grocery stores across the country, this is a funny thing to talk about, but they don't really have single-use packets of anything in grocery stores. Just now you're starting to see ketchup, because say Chick-fil-A kind of started that little thing, and now you can go in and buy a pack, like a 6-pack of ketchup or whatever, but nothing else. You don't really see single-use mustard or single-use whatever. And so that was kind of my niche in the beginning there. So we did blow up to about 1,800 grocery stores there, which now today we're pulled back. We're only in about 50, but we blew up on the food service side. So and when I say food service, I mean hotels, restaurants, cruise ships, airlines, selling our 5-gallon size, half-gallon size, and then the 5-ounce bottles.
Wow, that's a lot of product. I know our listeners are probably going, man, how do you take an idea, go raise $500,000? I know you've raised a lot more since then. You're obviously very good at that. Any tips for young entrepreneurs or folks looking to get in business on, man, how do they get started on identifying prospective investors?
One of the number one things to do, absolutely, is don't try and reinvent the wheel. Don't just jump online and think, I've got to figure this out myself. Yes, you want to do your research online, but pair with somebody who has done it before. Meet with as many startup CEOs as you can, and especially meet with the guys that have failed before. You want to hear where they went wrong. Right. I mean, yes, you want to go meet with the super immensely successful guy, and ask a ton of questions. I mean, me even at this point now. I mean, not to brag, but at least once or twice a month, somebody's coming to me saying, "I want to start a business, and can you help me out?" And matter of fact, I'm meeting with a good friend of mine Thursday. That's that he's probably in his early 40s, but he's worked for corporate America forever, and he's thinking, okay, it's time
to break the chains.
I've got this new product, or not this new. I got a product. Often, and this sounds kind of bad, but I probably discourage more business owners from starting out. I find myself doing the same than starting the business, because like with this guy, just for example, he probably makes in the low 6 figures, but he's got 401k, he's got insurance, he's got all maybe a 50-hour a week job. So my deal was, I'm going to say, okay, so you want to leave a job making $110,000 a year. You want to leave a job making a 401k and insurance and vacation. So you want to work 80 hours a week for a third of the pay, maybe. Yeah. And have, no vacation, no sick days, no anything. Are you really sure? And if the answer is yes, okay, then let's.
And you might have the heart for it, because we were talking about that earlier. That resolve, that passion to stick with it and get through the hard times. Well, definitely some good insight, wealth of knowledge. What a resource! We're definitely going to have you back, Gary. I know it's a short amount of time for everything that you can share with us. Tell us where to find you if people are wanting to get in touch.
So easy would be littlesoya.com as far as our site there, and as far as restaurants go, in the Houston market, anywhere from Uchi, Underbelly, Soma. But nationally, you can find us in Four Seasons. You can find us in Ritz-Carlton restaurants, Nobu up in New York, Vegas, MGM, you name it, we're in it. And if you're an astronaut, thank you for your business.
That's right. So go out there this week, get your soy sauce on. If you don't see his product, if you don't see Little Soya, ask for it so that they come looking for Gary, right?
That's right. Please do. Thank you.
We're going to wrap up today thanking the Work Lodge for being a sponsor for us, and also Shadowbox Talent.
Absolutely.
Next week, what we're going to talk about?
No clue.
You have no idea?
Of course we do, but we've got to save that for next week. We've got a great guest from Blinds.com coming in. We'll be sharing some additional business tips as well as another brand review. Definitely tune in.
TheHookRadio.com is where you can find us and find the podcast. We'll see you next week. Thanks for listening.